Good afternoon. I'd like to call the Middletown Public School meeting to order on Thursday, September 21st, 2023 at 4:32 p.m. Almost all the members are present. Mr. O'Connell is away this week. So please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please join me for a moment of silence for Mr. Robert Laughlin. He was a PE teacher for Middletown, and we want to just recognize him and the service that he did for our school district. And we want to wish he passed away. We want to wish his family we want to send our condolences and our prayers to his family during this difficult time. Thank you. Next is the public forum. Individuals may address the school committee on only one relevant education-related topic not included on the agenda, nor related to personnel or job performance, nor revealing personally identifiable information regarding students. Individuals may speak for no longer than 5 minutes and must submit a public participation form to the superintendent prior to the start of the meeting. Non-agenda items discussed under public forum will not be voted upon at this meeting. So I have two people that would like to speak. Gentlemen want to speak together? Okay, we have Landon Resendiz and Quinn Gibson. Am I saying that? Come on up, gentlemen. Please state your name and your address, please.
Hello there, Landon Resendiz, 42 Westview Road, Middletown.
Quinn Gibson, 11 Winter. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed members of the school committee, teachers, and parents. Today, my friend, Landon Resendiz, and I, Quinn Gibson, both juniors at Middletown High School and co-leads for the MHS Mock Trial Club, stand before you to address a critical issue within our school department: the urgent need for 2 dedicated full-time librarians, one at our high school and one at our middle school. Our current situation came along with a slew of new budget cuts that debuted this year. We now have one librarian who must split his time between 2 institutions, and it is possessing significant challenges to our school community. Our librarian is an invaluable asset to our educational team, but his current workload is overwhelming in the mornings. While at the high school, he manages the library, also handles all IT requests from students. This dual role stretches his time and resources thin, making it difficult for him to give his full attention to either role.
Additionally, if a problem arises with a student's school-issued computer during the afternoon when no librarian is present, they'll have to wait until the next morning. Many students in our school district rely solely on their school-provided Chromebooks for completing homework after their school day ends. If a technical issue comes up, it makes it practically impossible for them to do their homework, which then leads to incomplete assignments and, in turn, lower grades. How can students care enough to complete their work if the district doesn't care enough to provide consistent support for their students? As we both already addressed, the consequences of this situation are widespread, affecting various aspects of our school community. However, today in this meeting, we would like to draw your attention to a specific issue that is impacting many students, including myself and Quinn: the disruption to student interest clubs. As proud members of the Mock Trial Club at Middletown High School, we can both attest to the immense value it brings to our educational experience. This club provides us with the opportunity to learn about the criminal justice system, the law, and the principles of debate and public speaking, like we're doing right now. It fosters critical thinking skills and encourages us to engage with real-world issues. However, our Mock Trial Club, along with other student interest clubs, faces an uncertain future due to the current librarian situation. Now, you may not know this, but our librarian served as the advisor to the Mock Trial Club for over a decade and has done a fantastic job, may I add. He was also the advisor for the MHS math team and would have loved to continue in both roles for this school year. Our librarian's unfortunate absence from the high school in the afternoons, as he will be at Gaudet instead, significantly jeopardizes the ability of these clubs to function effectively, or even at all, as they will not have an advisor, which is a requirement for the club to operate as listed by Middletown High School. Without the adequate library resources, guidance, and support, we find ourselves at a standstill.
To address this issue, the school department has taken a positive step by creating a job posting to replace our librarian as the mock trial advisor. However, it's disheartening to note that despite being posted for over a week, no one has yet taken up this crucial position. This leaves us in a state of uncertainty, with the future of our clubs hanging in the balance.
The importance of having 2 librarians, one dedicated to each school, cannot be overstated. It's about more than just managing the books and now the IT requests. It's about providing the essential resources and guidance needed for student interest clubs to thrive. It's about ensuring that all students have access to the knowledge and the support they require to excel academically and personally. But we aren't the only 2 that think this way. Today, during today's school day, with very short notice, we asked students around the school to sign a petition. This petition presented the question of whether or not students felt the need to have Mr. Fontaine restored to his full-time position at the high school and a new librarian to be hired at the middle school. In just 4 hours, due to the interruption of the exact path testing, which took place today, we achieved nearly 200 signatures, a third of the student body at Middletown High School, along with several teachers. We are proud of this result and feel that if we had the time to ask them, each and every student at MHS would agree. In conclusion, we both urge the school committee to seriously consider the impact of having just one librarian who must split his time between our high school and our middle school. It is clearly not sustainable, and it is jeopardizing the educational opportunities and experiences of passionate students like ourselves who are deeply invested in these clubs, as we have both been a part of the mock trial club specifically since our freshman year. Our clubs are not just extracurricular activities, but a vital part of our educational journey. Again, these budget cuts go beyond just a school librarian, but forces the dissolution of the mock trial club and math club as it stands right now. Now, please, let us all come together as a community to prioritize the reinstatement of a second librarian so that all of our students, regardless of their interests and passions, can thrive in an environment that supports their growth and learning. As you all know, Middletown Public Schools' motto is ensuring success for every student. But how can we do that if our students aren't given the tools to exceed? Thank you for the opportunity to speak. We appreciate your consideration on this pressing matter.
I think you've done a great job presenting that, and I applaud you.
Thank you, Mr. Hewitt.
I'm going to give you some homework.
Sure.
So you know what the budget cycle has been like in the town,
I do.
and you're 17. You're going to be 18 next year.
16, actually.
6. Okay. Well, in about 2 years, you're going to be a taxpayer. So the homework I'm going to give you is I want you to look at our school budget, and I want you to come back here and make recommendations of what you would cut to come up with the money to pay for that second librarian.
I understand your
Okay.
concern. I also do serve as the co-editor-in-chief for The Wave, the newspaper at the high school, and we have done some budget investigations. The last school year, I had the opportunity to speak with Mr. Nisi last year as well, specifically with the IT department's budget cuts and some of the considerations that were made into that. And yeah, I do feel that as all the points that I did mention and myself and Quinn mentioned, this is definitely a crucial part that's been undertaken by all of the other positions. For instance, there was the reading comprehension or the early literacy teacher at Forest Avenue Elementary, and you saw the outcry by all of the parents that arrived at that moment. And I'm sure that something was done about that. But at this point, there's nothing that we're going to be done, and we're going to have all these students that are suffering because we can't pull together the money to have a new librarian, even though this position was validated. And like I had mentioned, there were 2 librarians serving at both schools for over 10 years at this point. So
I can assure you that the school committee would like to have a second librarian. But you got your homework. I would like to see both of you back here.
we appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I want to compliment you both. You did an excellent job presenting. You were very well prepared. It's a great experience to get up and present yourself like that in front of a group of people, plus it's being taped. So you did a really good job. You're very well spoken. And I want to reiterate what Mr. Hewitt was saying. We all are in support of another librarian. We are working very, very hard, crunching numbers, still trying to figure out what we can do in the near future. That was not a position that was taken lightly. Neither was any of the other positions. And there was 9 of them, 11 of them, 12. Okay. So, you know, it's something we've lost literacy teachers and specialists. We have a lot of other positions that are very difficult to let go. So please note that this isn't something that was taken lightly, and it wasn't something that was overlooked for a purposeful reason. It's been still being dissected on a daily basis to figure out how we can reinstate a position like that. So please note, the district is trying very, very hard. But I think I commend you both for getting up here, doing a petition like you did at school. It's a great lesson learned, and it's really something that you will carry with you forever, because those are skills that you need to have with you. So I commend you for that. Good job, guys. Okay, we have no other people that want to speak this evening, so we're gonna. Some forms. Did somebody else want to speak? Okay. So moving on to the consent agenda. Oh, I apologize. I have the wrong agenda in front of me. We're going to move on to spotlight on teaching and learning. My apologies.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to share our results from our virtual instruction survey that we sent out in the last week. We did send that to our community through our social media, as well as an email blast and a text that went to parents' phones. And we also sent it through our staff emails. And we had wonderful participation. So I'm going to just take you through the questions and some of the participation rates. So we had 635 responses, and just a quick note, we had about 500, and we pushed out another reminder and received a lot more, so that was great. And this is sort of the breakout of where the responses came from. 70% of the responses were from parents, and 20% were from teachers. 5% were from our staff members, and we had some smaller amounts from our students and Middletown residents. So you can see the majority of responses came from parents and then teachers. And this is just a quick snapshot of our participation by grade level. So you can see that 37% were from that pre-K to 3 level, and jumping over to the 9 through 12, we had about 32% there, and 33% 6 to 8, and 21% 4 to 5. I think it's a good sampling across the grade levels, as you can see. We wanted to make sure that the people that were participating had at least experienced virtual learning at some point. Maybe they were an observer, or maybe they were a teacher, or maybe they were a student participating. So we wanted to make sure that they had been part of one of our virtual learning experiences. So we did have 81% say yes, they had. So again, just sort of verifying our survey crowd. So this is the effectiveness rating of what they thought of our virtual learning experiences, 1 being an excellent instructional opportunity, and 5 just not benefiting learning. So as you can see, it was spread out, but if you look at that 3, 2, and 1, a large majority, close to 65–70% were in that range, saying that they are leaning towards it being maybe not an excellent opportunity, but something that was fulfilling the need at the time. So this is the most important slide. This is the final result. This kind of takes us to what people want. And I'm going to explain each one because we offered a few things. So while we offered to go like last year, that was virtual learning plan for all weather-related closures, except if there was a risk of a power outage. So if there's a hurricane coming and we know it's coming, we would likely not be calling a virtual learning day. So that was the red. And as you can see, we had 45.8% of our participants select that we do go through another virtual learning plan. And again, that virtual learning plan would need to be approved by RIDE. We submit that on a yearly basis for approval. The gold color is a virtual learning plan, but no school on the first forecasted snowstorm. We did hear a lot of feedback, whether it was on social media last year or just, through the grapevine, that how can we let the kids not have at least one snow day? So we wanted to give people the option of that happening. But again, we put the word forecasted because we all know in New England, we could expect a lot of snow and the next day we might not have it. So we do need to make decisions usually the night before. So that option would be that if it was forecasted that we were getting, you know, a good amount of snow, not an ice storm, but a snowstorm, then we would not have a virtual learning day on that first one. Let everyone experience a snow day, a good old fashioned snow day, and then use our virtual learning plan for all other related um related closures after that. So we had any other snowstorms, ice storms, hurricanes, we would be going to our virtual learning plan. And then the green was to say, listen, we have some time left in June. Let's use the 5 days let's use at least 5 days as no school days. So if we take a no school day in, say, February for a snowstorm, we just add that to the end of our calendar. But after 5 days, that would be enough. So the green would allow us to go to a plan after that. And then the blue was no virtual learning days. So never an option or an opportunity. We would always have no school days on weather-related issues. And that's kind of like the old days, right? So that's how we always used to do it before virtual learning came to play. So as you can see, I think that you've got a large bunch that are in the red and the golds, meaning that they are supportive of a virtual learning plan. You've got more people saying, just go ahead and do it just like last year. Then you have saying, you know, wait for a snowstorm and have that first snowstorm. But at the same time, you know, you've got some really good information here from your survey. So we are going to put this on the agenda for October, so you can have some time to think about it and vote on your choice. I will say that in the meantime, we will submit a plan for approval. If we don't use it, that's fine. It's just important that we put something forward. So I will be working with the principals just for a little bit of feedback and changes to the plan to make it ready in case anything should come up. But if we were to have a weather emergency tomorrow, we would have to take a no school day at this point. We don't have an approved plan for this year. Any questions?
When do you submit this plan to RIDE?
Anytime. Last year I submitted it, I believe it was October. And they're pretty quick at getting, you know, any feedback or turning it around and approving it. We didn't have any problems last year. We were pretty good at, you know, our plan after COVID. But you know, when you don't do something real often, so during COVID, we kind of got used to getting online every day. And when you don't do that often, this a virtual learning plan that just goes into effect here and there can be a challenge. So it's important that we get our plan in place and that we review it with not only our principals, but all of our staff as well. We do require on those days that all staff participate, whether you're a teacher assistant, whether you're an admin assistant, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a specialist like a PE teacher or art teacher, we have everyone participate on a virtual learning day.
So a prior plan doesn't stay in place, it's just a years long.
Right,
And it
right now they
ends.
approve for a year.
Just 1 year and then it ends.
Yes.
Okay.
And then once this is approved by RIDE, do we also do a review with the students to make sure that they know, because I know there's different age groups get on different
Yeah, so
sites, like
different
Seesaw, what- I don't
schools
know
have
what-
what we call virtual learning schedules.
Mhm.
So all of those schedules would be shared with families and students at each level. And those look differently for each grade level.
So once the plan is picked, the schools.
Yeah,
do
it's
that.
actually, it's linked right in the old plan. All the schedules were already set and linked. One of the big requirements of the RIDE plan is that there is at least 3 hours of live instruction. So with teachers online, that can be in one chunk, that could be spread out. You know, that can be start and stop. It's up to how they schedule it. But I will say that in the upper grades, they sort of follow their schedule, where in the lower grades, they did a little bit of tweaking with that. So again, just a reminder back to our virtual days, we have that synchronous learning, which is learning live instruction with a teacher or a teacher assistant or a specialist. And then we have asynchronous work, which is work that kids would be doing on their own, or maybe they're watching a video that's taped, something recorded. But those are that's the combination of what makes up the plan itself.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, next is the consent agenda. And I have a motion on the consent agenda.
I make a motion, the school committee approve the consent agenda.
Second,
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, old business. Old business on the cell phone policy. Mr. Hewitt, you had mentioned that you wanted this on the agenda. You want to just expand on that? That would be great.
yeah, I looked through the policy and what I came away from it was it's teacher dependent. It's not consistent across the schools. One teacher can say, we have permission to do it. And another one can say no. So you can have students with cell phones in the classroom in some places and not in others. So how do you control the cell phone use? If it's in their locker, you can't control it. And then the other thing that I did not see in the policy was like smartwatches. Smartwatch is a phone. And then the violations, the questions I have about that was how many violations were there last year at the high school, at the middle school? And I can't imagine if there were any at the elementary school, but there may be.
You'd be surprised.
But so I'd like to know how many violations were at each school and how many were repeat and what the discipline was. And the other thing I'd want to know is if a teacher says you can have bring your cell phones for instructional purposes, what if a child doesn't have a cell phone? It's kind of like putting a kid on the spot. So I think what I'd like to see, I don't want to see our teachers having to do discipline for cell phones. I think they need to be taken out of it. And I'd like to see no cell phones in the school. There's things that can be done that a kid can have their cell phone, but not have access to it. There's a program called Yonder. It's put in a pouch and it's with the child the whole time, and they can't use it because it's locked in when they come in, and it's unlocked when they leave the school building. Some of the parents may have concerns about, well, what if there's some kind of horrific mass shooting or something? I want to be able to communicate with my child. Well, the last thing that you want your child to be doing when there's an event like that is trying to make a phone call. You want to get the child to a safe place. And that program that I talked about, there's a mobile device where once the child is in a safe place, their phones can be unlocked and they can make a phone call. So, but I think what we need to do is stand up a subcommittee, and I'd like the police and the fire to be a part of this. And I'd like to get some parents and some teachers on this. But we got to get the cell phones out of the schools. The school that implemented this program said that in a very short time, there was more interaction between the kids and the teachers and the kids when the cell phones went away. So
Where was the school, if you don't mind me asking?
it was on NBC News. I think it was in Arkansas. But I'm going to call the rep and see if I can get some more information. And we can probably hopefully get it done with a grant. But we need to get the parents on board. And the other thing that I think we need to do this is the bullying. The kids texting each other, meet me in the bathroom. And this can solve a lot of it. But we need to get the parents on board.
Well, I think it's something that if you want to spearhead this, that's,
I'd be happy to.
you're more than welcome to. I don't know exactly what the protocol is to create a subcommittee on this. I think that I personally would have concerns of taking cell phones away completely from students. I know when students were in high school, my children were in high school. I do believe, especially at the high school, the teachers have pouches when they walk in. There's strict rules. They're not allowed to have them out. You can't stop watches. I mean, I think we have to be very careful and strategic when we create a policy like this, when, I think getting parents involved is very important. Getting teachers involved is very important as well. I think age groups vary. I don't know elementary. I heard some mumbling out there that apparently there are students that have school, phones in K to 3.
Watches.
Yep, the watches, yes, they do.
Last year,
Yep.
Wow.
things going,
Yeah.
recording.
Are the,
I got
pol-
mine for the first time last year.
are the policies initially
expensive.
driven from each school through each school principal? Is that how the policies,
No, it's a
It was set by the district.
it's set by the district and then it goes down and then just does each school?
Right, so each school should have policy in their handbooks.
Okay.
But I think what would be helpful is to bring some data from our teachers
Yeah.
to you about what is maybe not working or working with cell phones. I haven't had any recent conversations regarding cell phones, but I think it would probably differ per grade levels in schools. So I think they're probably the best people to tell
give
us
the
what's
information.
going on
Mhm.
and what they need help with.
Yeah, because having been in the classroom as well, it's very hard to be the policeman on the kids who have the phones, the kids who are really good about, you don't see it, you don't know that it's there, but they're using them to do chat GPT, you name it, they're using them. So I think it'd be very important to have.
Well, they're very
teacher
much
input.
part of life now, right? So I think they do use them a lot, but
Yeah.
I think it's using them appropriately and not,
Mhm.
I think the one thing that I think all teachers could agree with is if they come in the way of instruction,
Yeah.
right? So I don't think we'd want that to be in the way of a teacher instructing a class.
Can somebody get the
Um,
door, please?
Yes.
It just needs to be propped open. Karen, thanks.
But I also think that having the input from our teachers would really help us sort of understand exactly what Mr. Hewitt's speaking of.
Mhm.
So what are the challenges with the cell phones? I happened to do lunch duty today at the high school and there were many cell phones, but there weren't disruptive. I mean, it was a wonderful lunch period. There wasn't a lot of disruption. At that point, I think the cell phones likely helped with there wasn't, like you brought up too, there's not a lot of socialization when you're just on a phone, but if that's what you're trying to address, then I'm sure there might be more conversation, but it was a very well-run lunchroom and it was quite enjoyable to be over there. So, but we certainly can bring to you the data of what's going on out there.
Mhm.
I see a lot of teachers from a lot of schools that I'm sure could shed a lot of light on this.
love to have you anytime for lunch.
You saw me today. Thank you.
Okay, so we can certainly continue this conversation.
So
The other schools jealous.
do you wanna-
You're gonna spread your phone
What's that?
have that superintendent kick it off with this?
Well, what Michelle said, Michelle, you'd get some data for us.
I mean, I think you start with the principals and speak to them about their concerns at that level and then also maybe do some surveys at this teacher level, but I'm all about gathering the data. So,
Yeah,
and the best
and-
people to ask it for is really the teachers, yeah.
Right, and then from there, perhaps Mr. Hewitt, he could create a policy committee or a subcommittee
Mhm.
of the policy committee and be able to gather that data and, also compare to other districts. I know you said that you've done some research in Arkansas and other communities, and then come back with some recommendations.
Okay.
So, but we'll start first providing you with some
Changes,
information
then.
and then you can take off with your stakeholders.
Great.
All right, thank you. Okay, next on, old business is the busing costs.
I know that Mr. Hewitt had questions about the busing costs, and I know there's a handout, and I think Mr. George will be able to elaborate if you folks have questions, but we did have that distributed to you.
All right, so I didn't know, did you want to discuss this during the committee
Yeah.
meeting, or do you want to take this?
So when I looked
offline
at the
for-
figures, for just the high school, it's $360,000 a year is what I, based on my calculations, it wasn't broke out by each school. So, and I know you told me that the contract is gonna be renewed next year.
Yeah,
So,
20 July 1st, 2025.
so I think what we need to do is kind of look at the data and see if there's ways that we can cut costs.
So did you see the spreadsheet that I uploaded? Okay, so that was from the bus company. I only got it this morning, so I haven't really had a chance to dive into it. I did put up on the cover sheet that came with the spreadsheet, a little bit of information about what's in there, including the percentage of students that drive to the high school. I noticed quickly there is probably some space in the high school because of the lesser amount of students taking the bus. So you can probably find some savings there. The issue that we have to be careful of is that the bus routes are timed and they cover the entire town. So combining two bus routes might actually make it worse because that bus now has to drive more. So we have to we need to look into the data, have the bus routes up in front of us so we can see the town and really dive into it. At that point, it's definitely not something we can do.
Maybe we get to a van instead of a bus.
Yeah.
I mean, we need to look at it.
So I don't know if you want to do that offline together. or if
We
you
can do
want-
that offline, but where you're at, so we need to look at it now and start coming up with some changes.
Sure, just let me know how you want to proceed, because we can invite the bus company in too to a little input as to
I'm looking
why
at the,
things are happening the way they are.
I'm looking at the vans. The vans are more expensive than the buses per day. And the minibus is more expensive than the buses.
Well,
So
that
by
comes
quite a
down,
bit.
that comes down to negotiation.
But also remember, we have to take into account the number of buses, for example. So it's cost per day for all three runs, high school, middle school, elementary. We use the most buses in the middle school run. So we have to take into account that however many buses we need. And as Poe said, and this is something when I was looking at this, I was thinking about the widespread area. So you have from Indian Avenue down on the east side of Middletown near Old Mill Lane and down by the end of Third Beach Road and by First Beach, and then you have all the way to this end of the town of Middletown. So to combine routes and you look at the numbers and every year the numbers vary, it's something that's a lot of research is going to have to go into that to figure out.
But what you might be
the
able to
idea of
do is
numbers.
take a couple kids off of each route, put them on other buses and save one bus at the end, type of thing. That may be something we can do, but I don't think we can eliminate a route itself,
No,
or
you can't.
eliminate one whole bus.
Oh, because if one student needs to be picked up on Indian Avenue, then they need to be picked up on Indian Avenue.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is the timing because especially the high school is the first run to go out. So if they run behind, all the schools run behind. So it's a big project. It's not impossible. I'd like to do it anyways, just to see if there's a cost savings. So something we definitely can look into.
And the difficulty too is the unknown is every year. So this year there's
changes.
students that are registered to park. It's 108, but next year it could be 140. It varies based on when students get their license, access to cars. A lot of the students that drive at the high school, correct me if I'm wrong, who's here from the high school? A lot of high school teachers here. A lot of those students usually do after school activities or athletics and they're driving their cars if they have access to a vehicle. But yeah, I think we need to, this is really important to investigate, but I think it's really important too, to make sure that we are not cutting and making sure all students have access to transportation.
And maybe to relook at, the bus storage.
Yeah, well, all that's gonna come up at the
With-
next contract.
Mm-hmm.
We'll probably start looking at about a year from now. Because I do have to give time if a different bus company
Mm-hmm.
wins the bid. They need approximately 6 months before,
Right.
so they can get leasing for where they're gonna store the buses and hire drivers and stuff, things like that. So the bid itself is gonna have to be accepted probably by the end of next year, 2024, with the contract starting July 1st.
In that current contract, is there any clause with the percentage of seats that are filled? Like occupancy rate?
There isn't like a lot of minimum, there's just, see, it changes all the time, and then it changes with the military kids coming in too. When the buses may be changing in October, just depends where the kids live, what grades they're in, how many buses are going to that neighborhood. It's a real big picture item, and then you gotta, narrow it down to
Does this number of buses stay pretty consistent
Yeah,
Has it
it's the
been
same
this number
amount of buses.
for
Yeah.
quite some time?
And we also have we have a change in, coming up in November for military families, another change in February, March time period, and then July. So the War College has 3 different classes. So we could have an influx of students in any one of those 3 time periods when the military comes in for their 1-year
Yeah, but
schedule.
your class
at the
sizes
War
in
College.
November and March are much smaller
Yeah.
than the summer. The summer student population is probably over 400. The ones that come in November, October, November, and March is maybe 100. You're not getting that many students that come in, even though there is an influx of new students.
Mhm.
The majority of your students coming to Naval War College for the year-round course come in that July, August timeframe. So,
I mean, I do agree with Mr. Hewitt. It's our biggest expenditure that we have in the school department. And I'm sure it hasn't been looked at in a long time, and it should be.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Okay, next is new business.
In the business office, yep.
Yep.
Few days ago, the town has contacted me and Michelle. We're gonna be talking about the reconfiguration of the business office. We're gonna be meeting bi-weekly. The meetings will begin on September 28th, and they're gonna run every 2 weeks until March of 2024. So I'll be able to report back to you after our first meeting, which is gonna take place next week. That will be the initial discussion on what steps it will take to be able to consolidate the business office. So I'm looking forward to that, and we'll gather a lot. And I know they've been very helpful just with just some brief reporting that had to be done quickly. I sent it over, I docu-signed it, and it's already been submitted. So
Okay.
I'm looking forward to working with the town.
So I guess my question that is related to that is,
Yes,
do our principals have their budgets yet?
they,
So
they.
after you
don't yet.
adopt the budget
Yes.
today,
Then they will get them.
if you adopt the budget today, that would be very easy to get everyone their budgets.
Okay,
But it's all, I mean, it's today that,
okay. And then once we adopt that, the principals get their budgets.
Correct.
Are they gonna be able to write purchase orders?
yes, they've
Already
actually been,
started.
yeah, they've actually been told at the last admin meeting that they could begin ordering at least half of what was in their budget workbook. So when they built their budgets and their workbooks, and I know we have some new principals, but we've also shared their last year's workbooks with them so that they can start beginning to do that. Crucial POs have already been
Already been
been
processed.
processed.
Yes.
Like there were things we couldn't wait on, and there were things that teachers had to go without for the first few weeks because we didn't have the ability to push everything through. But there's gonna be a little bit of a backlog, but we will get them all done, especially after tonight. So I think that's the main thing.
This was kind of the makings of a perfect storm. We hope that this doesn't get replicated anytime in your future budget negotiations and preparations.
So what is your expectation for this combined school department, town budget office to be done?
I think the goal will be, since they set the deadline that they started now September to March, I believe that they're going, after we meet all those times and they get a better focus of what has to happen here and what they have to do, I believe that it should kind of move smoothly after that and it'll be moving. But like right now, I've been very impressed with just the collaboration I've had with the town with simple things that they're moving along for us. I mean, this is what happens. Unfortunately, you folks have been understaffed and you've also been under budgeted for many years. I mean, I'm coming from a community in Lincoln where, these budget woes, unfortunately, we were lucky, but unfortunately for you folks, you've had some major struggles and it basically has paralyzed you. And it's sad that you've had to go through all this, but I'm confident that once the reorganization takes place and you have a process and you prepare your budget for next year and you're adequately funded, that you're going to be going in the right direction.
And I'm also hopeful that during the process of the consolidation, that we are speaking about capacity issues that we
Yes.
currently have. And they're able to address those as we go along. So we have seen that this week
Yes.
with some emails that say, how can we help you? And so we're taking advantage of that.
Time. Yes, we'll
I
take
don't
the
think
help.
we've said no to
Never.
any of the help
No. So thank you.
because we
and-
recognize that we need the help. So when it comes down to it, I don't think we'll see a total change until the end of that,
Until
but
the
I
end.
think there'll be things in the middle. If we continue on this path that we can say, could you help us with this? Like grants, for instance, are a great example because we could have support in that area as well.
So are there positions within the building that are not going to be filled, or are you still looking to fill them? Or are you trying to do these now together in collaboration?
We're gonna figure that out, like, I think after, when we begin the first meeting, like, I have to say, we've had 2 meetings. Lori, Michelle and I were in one with the town's team. And then Michelle and I have now been invited to participate in the bi-weekly meetings. So I just think it's been wonderful and it's a great collaboration. You want to work for the common goal. It's all about the students. And that's where the focus always has to be in giving teachers what they need to be able to instruct the students. It's a whole circle.
So we'll see about
Yes.
positions. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Next is, Mr. Hewitt, you wanted this on the agenda, about the authority and duties of an interim superintendent?
Yeah, the school attorney provided some information, which was beneficial. So the question that I think some other people had was the part-time. And so that was clarified.
Yes.
So we don't need to have it.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right, thank you. Next is on to action items.
Do you have any questions on that?
Vicky, am I going off the,
Want this? Do you want mine?
am I going off the, oh, all right, so it is on that one. Okay, all right, it's just written differently.
Yeah.
Okay, can I have a motion on homeschooling?
Make a motion, the school committee approve homeschooling request 23-2415 all the way through 23-2427.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Can I have a motion on the budget adoption?
Make a motion, the school committee approve the adjusted FY 24 all funds budget in the amount of $45,530,916.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Finally,
Yes,
budget
thank
passed.
you. This is great.
it's great. All right, can I get a motion on the revised job description?
Make a motion, the school committee approve the first reading of the revised job description for the coordinator of child outreach / early childhood.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Can I have a motion on the bid for maintenance and lease of the cell tower?
Make a motion that the school.
No,
committee-
I'm saying that wrong. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
On the lease and district copiers.
Make a motion, the school committee approve the bid from RICHO for the maintenance and lease of district copiers.
Can I just
Second.
have one thing,
Yes,
subject to
Re-
legal?
Review.
Because we have had legal look at the contract, and one of the big issues is the venue, the forum is Pennsylvania, and we need to have that changed to Rhode Island, so we want to have the ability to speak to their attorneys to make sure we can get that. So if you could approve this subject to legal, then as soon as we get this done, we can purchase those copiers.
Yeah.
Okay,
Reread
so
these.
Those copiers.
Reread or just add?
just add that subject to legal.
Making the motion subject to legal review.
Second.
Any discussion?
Could I just add one thing, Madam Chair?
Yes.
Madam Chair, members of the school committee, today is a very exciting day for Middletown. Not only did we adopt the budget, but we finally have something coming to our teachers that they most desperately need and deserve, which are new copy machines for every single copier in the district and every single school serving every single teacher.
Wow.
So this is a project that I have been personally working on since literally day one of my employment, a little over 2 years ago. And it was a long time coming. It was a need that I saw right away in the district. I worked very hard with our administration, our superintendent, our interim superintendent, assistant superintendent, Lori Miller, and our business office to really pull something together because we had all the technical components in place for quite some time. There was a large financial hurdle given the dire budgetary conditions that we all been facing. And so we are beyond excited to afford our teachers this opportunity. I'd like to thank our teachers for their unwavering support and their patience and their understanding during these difficult times. And I am so excited to be able to present this to you all today. So thank you very
Great.
much for your
Great.
consideration.
Our copiers.
I don't think people realize
I know.
the necessity of copy machines,
Yeah.
of how much you ladies and gentlemen, because we have a lot of teachers here in the audience, just so the public knows who I'm talking to. I don't think people realize until you're an educator how that copy machine is so important. And it doesn't mean that you're printing out dittos for a first grader to be doing worksheets. There's a lot more to it, and a lot of folks don't realize how important a good copy machine is in order to have our students succeed in that area. So thank you, Mr. Anisi, for taking care of that. And okay, we have a motion and a second and a discussion. All in favor? Aye. Okay, let's do this. Next is a motion on the cell tower site agreement sublease.
Make a motion, the school committee,
Also subject to legal.
Okay,
this one is, okay, make a motion, the school committee approve the PCS site agreement to sublease space at the tower site, subject to legal review.
Second,
any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Can I have a motion on resignations?
Correct? Yes. Make a motion, the school committee approve the following resignations. Amber Crockett, 4-hour teacher assistant, Aquidneck Elementary, 9/1/23. David Fontaine, SAT administrator, Middletown High School, 9/6/23.
second,
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, next on to superintendent
Personnel.
reports.
Okay, personnel actions. Hire effective August 31st, 2023, Deborah Danis, 0.5 art teacher at Gaudet Learning Academy. Hire effective September 5th, 2023, Emily Walker, 4-hour teacher assistant, Gaudet Learning Academy. Carly Baptista, 4-hour teacher assistant, Gaudet Learning Academy. Gina Osozlik, 4-hour teacher assistant, Aquidneck Elementary School. Sarah Toducci, 4-hour teacher assistant, Forest Avenue Elementary School. Hire effective date September 11th, 2023, Ethan Delaney, girls JV volleyball coach. Nicole Parenti, 6-7-8 cross-country coach. Rachel Wagner, Beyond the Bell credit recovery teacher at Middletown High School. Andrew Lees, Beyond the Bell credit recovery teacher at Middletown High School. Linda Leonard, Beyond the Bell credit recovery teacher, Middletown High School. The resignations, Amber Crockett, 4-hour teacher assistant at Aquidneck, effective 9/1/23. David Fontaine, SAT administrator, Middletown High School, effective 9/6/23. David Fontaine, mock trial advisor and math team advisor at Middletown High School, effective 9/13/23. Regan Wiley, girls JV volleyball coach, effective 9/8/23. And the leave of absences are Rebecca Machado, 6-hour special ed teacher assistant at Forest Avenue from 10/23/23 until January 2nd, 2024. Emma Marshall Hookway, music teacher, 10/2/23 to 1/12/24. And finally, Terrence Caldwell, guidance counselor at Middletown High School, 11/20/23 to 2/12/2024.
Okay, thank you very much. Next
Okay,
is,
next, financial. I know that now we have a budget. We're going to be putting the balances in and we're going to be ready to start implementing. And we're really delighted. And the principals will be getting their budget workbooks and getting everything that they need tomorrow, where the purchase orders are moving in the right direction. And we're going to continue to give both teachers and staff what they need as well as students. So we're really delighted that this budget has been adopted and we're going in the right direction. Next is student services.
Okay, we continue to be very busy
so s-
upstairs.
Okay.
I've been you want me to
So
do that?
sorry. Curriculum was way under. That's why
It'll
I'm
work.
so sorry.
Do you want me
So
to?
sorry. Yes, because
Okay, go ahead.
the order was off.
Oh, okay.
That's okay.
I'm continuing to meet with all the schools and their staff, as we work out procedures with our new department that are different than before. So I've been out to all of the schools, and getting to know my own personnel. So that's been really great. I've been working closely. I've met multiple times with the speech and language therapists to discuss their caseloads to ensure all the students are receiving the necessary services. I've met several times with Middletown High School, special educators and principals, to assist in adjusting their schedules and being the most efficient with time during the day to ensure all students' needs are being met there. continuing to visit classrooms and support teachers and staff. Our census clerk position has been reposted. We do have multiple applicants for that, so we're hoping to be able to fill that soon. And I have started to really closely monitor the out-of-district placements and bringing students back to the district when appropriate with the proper supports. So that will be ongoing, but I've just really started to take a look at where our kids are and how we can bring them back if possible, because we really want them here.
Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome.
And I'm sorry because this was out of order. I apologize, but our assistant superintendent, we worked very closely together. Our assistant superintendent, Lori Miller, and myself, we were holed up in the room, and a great presentation she has developed, and I'd like her to share it with the school committee as well as members of the community. It talks about all the steps. So this way, the clarification is taking place, what started and where we are now, and you are going in the right direction. But I think what she has to share is quite important, and it gives everyone the information that they need moving forward, because information is, or accurate information always makes people make the right decisions. So I'd like it to turn this over to our assistant superintendent.
It's just really some informative pieces that we've all been a part of. Tonight you approved the FY24 budget that we began last November. So last November, we sat down with our principals, our entire leadership team, and we started discussing what the FY24 budget would look like. And so it's September, and here we are, very close to beginning our budget for the next year. Never seen it come to this timeline, but we are going to plow ahead and push forward and hope that this scenario doesn't happen again. It was what we called the perfect storm. And I just want to remind everybody that these three pieces are what played into the problem that is existing. And I know you all have heard this a million times, but it's really important for everyone to understand. We knew about the two bullets, the second and the third bullet. We're very aware of those, and we voiced that concern. Through COVID, we had some wonderful grant support that really filled in for some of the gaps we had been experiencing in revenue. And those were sunsetting, and we knew that was happening, and there were salaries in those. The other thing is the reduction of state aid. I believe we told you it was happening, but it was even worse than we thought. So that was a problem. And then the dissolution of special ed sort of was just the straw that broke the camel's back, because at that time we weren't even thinking that would happen. And when it did, it also brought with it additional costs for the district. So those three pieces have really played into a budget that has not been a win for anybody, because we have things in here that are going to be painful at every level. And so while we celebrate that we're moving forward, we still need to recognize that it's a difficult budget to live with. This is the state aid, just so you know. We're down, the decrease is $579,133. That's substantial. You know, you've got to make up for that somewhere in your budget. So that's a lot of money. When we went to the town council, this is what we had to cut in order to get to the 4%. So back in November and December and the beginning of January, our principals came to us with recommendations of new positions that we supported and you all supported. We talked about math coaches. We talked about needing 9 additional ELL teachers. We talked about needing more reading intervention. We talked about increasing our staff's capacity to do interventions. We talked about really beefing up our tier 1 and tier 2 and tier 3 instruction. And they passionately told you, and you understood. But in order to get to the 4%, we not only could not even think about what they asked for, but then we had to go deeper into cuts that were extremely painful. And again, sometimes this goes down to contractual obligations, how many kids are in front of a teacher that need to be, and you end up cutting teachers that are your specialists, your interventionists, your guidance, your librarian. It's terrible. None of us wanted to go into this list, but this is where we were in March. We all remember that. And it was a scary time. And then in August, so we went from March to August, and then the town very generously gave us this package. So just kind of walking through the package, they gave us the full 4%. So that's right up top there. So we have the prior year appropriation, we have the 4%. We talked a little bit about the finance reorganization and how that would work. And we feel very supported with the town on that. So, you know, whenever it happens, we know that the funds will be between the two entities. So that's not a big deal. They exceeded the cap by 445, 962, and that was really to replace the state aid that they knew we were suffering with. But unfortunately, state aid came back even higher, the decrease. It was 579 for a difference of 133,000. So again, it's like, we can't catch up, we can't win. And when you think about that, that's a teacher. So just going in the wrong direction. And then underneath that, we talk about the 900,000 and the 500,000, kind of group those two together. That's the town assisting us to continue to address the shortfall that we've had in prior years. So the town had built that into our plan. So we have that deficit reduction plan, the contingency. But again, that was something that we had been experiencing. So it's not like it's additional. It's certainly generous to be given that money, but at the same time, it addresses situations that we were already in, which is, again, not giving us the ability to add additional staff or bring them all back. And then the last piece, that 670,000, I think we've talked a lot about the town's support for our Beyond the Bell. We had all of our summer programming, our before school and after school programming, all taken care of by the town grant, the busing, the transportation twice a week for all students. We had 5 weeks in the summer. And again, that was all fulfilled through the town grant. So we are so grateful to have that extra time that our teachers are coming and addressing, shortfalls in learning. And then we also had a career exploration teacher that the town was funding in conjunction with a Van Buren grant. So that 670,000 does also encompass that. So that's what happened on August, I believe it was August 21st.
August 21st.
So I'm kind of taking you through the timeline. So in the red, this is another thing that happened. So we had Mrs. Fortunato join us for the special ed department with Lisa Burkett, and they evaluated some of the special ed needs, and they were able to cut some pieces. So by cutting the MHS special education teacher, by cutting a speech and language pathologist, by cutting an intensive teacher that they figured out we didn't need, and an intensive teacher and a pathways teacher and some teacher assistants, we were able to bring some things back. So what we did was we brought back the dean at Gaudet, we brought back the directors, and we needed to bring back an art teacher because it was fully scheduled at the high school. So we had a teacher that retired last year, and that position was cut from the budget, but we had students that were asking for art classes at a very high level, and we didn't want students in the cafeteria during art, so we funded the art position as a priority. It's looking like right now, after the budget that you approved, there are 2 additional spots to bring positions back. And those would be, although we cut it in the red box, special ed has realized they do need another speech and language pathologist, so that needs to be filled now. And then we had talked about bringing back guidance at the high school. The high school was down a full guidance counselor and did not get their dean back, did not get their student success teacher back. All of these positions we did discuss in a big admin group. Was there perfect consensus? No, because this is hard. So everyone's advocating for their pieces of what's happening. But on the next page, you can see all of the things still on the table. And I can argue that every one of these is essential and important to our district, and they're still on the table, not funded. So I want just to be transparent and clear that this is where the problem lies for us. We don't have reading interventionists. Quinnick School does not have any reading interventionists at this point. We have Title I reading at some other school, at the other schools, like Forest has that and GLA has that in GMS, but there is not a reading interventionist at Quinnick. We are down an L teacher when You know, we had a nice presentation about compliance and our levels of else and our need to have instruction that's following the regs. We talked about needing 9 extra L teachers, and now we're down 1. We lost a social worker at the elementary level, so now we're splitting social worker time. The dean, that's at MHS. The librarian that you heard our students speak so well about, and you know that now our librarian is covering Gaudet and the high school. We had a student success teacher at the high school that was also helping students that were falling through the cracks and sort of needed that extra push, and that's gone. And then we also have in the director of facilities budget that couple custodians and a clerk that will also affect the whole picture. So while we're excited to move forward because this needed to be adopted and we need to move in the right direction, we're still a district that is certainly suffering with some major loss that we need to rebuild. And what we are super excited about the copiers. We know that's a need, and that's coming through funds that are capital improvement.
Right.
So it's not through the same like pot. So we need to understand that, you know, we can't just take from one and the other. So I just kind of want to make sure that everyone's on the same page with where we are. I'm happy if you want to add anything.
And realize that we added this last slide because it is stay tuned, because we're going to do our due diligence. It's not over. We're going to do our due diligence to see what else we can look at in the budget, what modifications, what reductions we continue to make, changing the way things, you know, continue to grow, and see if there's any way that we can start, at least starting with reading, then ELL. All those positions are extremely important, of course, to meet students' needs. So it's not over. That's what I have to encourage everyone in the audience to realize. And I understand that it's been a very unsettling time for all of you, but we are still going back. That is why we made sure that we put stay tuned, because we are still sharpening our pencils. We are looking at everything to see what else we can do to be able to bring back these very important positions. I just ask for grace and people's patience, because we are going to do what's right. And Middletown is an excellent school district, and it will continue to soar, but we're going to make sure we're going to see what else we can do about these various positions.
And the last thing I'll add is that we still work really hard to get grant money.
And that's what we will do.
I
too.
feel like it's
Yep.
it's part of you know, part of my thoughts every day. What can we apply for? So just to update you, this week we applied for a competitive grant with McKinney-Vento. And we sent that in. I also have applied and received for grants to give our teachers some professional development experiences with courses through AIM Pathways. And that's a very valuable experience for our teachers. But again, like some of these grants come through and they tell you like exactly what types of things they'll fund.
Criteria.
Very few fund salaries. And it's really not sustainable to put them in a grant anyway. So we're just going to continue to do that kind of a thing, because if it can offset anything else, hopefully we'll be able to look at what else we can bring back. So we continue to do that. The only other thing I'll add coming up, we have a professional development day in November. So we've been working on organizing that, meeting with the principals on the schedule. That will be for certified staff. So it'll be our only professional development day of the year. So we want to make sure we're using our time.
That's on election day, right?
Yes,
It's on
election day.
Yep. So that concludes my report.
You have nothing else?
No, that was-
Okay,
yeah.
thank you so much. This was excellent. And I think at least it gives the information that I think everyone truly deserves. As we continue on with the superintendent's report, I'm going to turn to Mr. George for a facilities update.
All right, so we had back to school. I had my custodians did a great job cleaning up the schools. They're still old, but now they're pretty.
Clean, nice.
We did have a rough start in the schools, so we had that first week of school was very hot and humid. I know a lot of people are suffering, but we just don't have air conditioning in some of the schools, and it really showed that first week. In addition to that, we've had almost every refrigerator in the district died the first week of school. We've got almost all of them working again. It happens every year that they sit for the summertime, and then when they start getting used again, some of them die. But this year we had almost everyone in every school go at the same exact time. So we got them almost all running down, and it was tough. In addition to that, we had to bring in water for the students, just to try to keep them all cool. Now 2 weeks have passed and things are better. The only thing I have is we have a COVID and flu vaccine clinic coming up on October 19th and November 1st from 4 to 7 at Gaudet Gym. For both, that you do have to pre-register. There's flyers going up and they're sending out social media posts about how to pre-register for those. The COVID shot is questionable at this point because I guess they're coming out with a new version of it right now.
Yes.
So if it's available by the time the clinic starts, they'll be available. And that's open to the public also. As long as you pre-register, you're guaranteed a spot. That's all I have.
Thank you. And finally, Mr. Anisi, technology update.
Thank you. Well, good evening, Madam Chair, members of the school committee. During the month of August, we held a meeting with the representative from the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, which is a division under the United States Department of Homeland Security. We met with all of our directors, members of the IT team, along with our superintendent to discuss our current cybersecurity initiatives and business continuity operations. The meeting not only addressed our IT operations, but also looked at our facilities and business operations as well in the event of a cyber attack or similar interruption to business. The meeting was very informative, and we felt very confident and a good sense of strength in our operational and technical operations. We learned many new ideas on how we can grow into the future and future-proof and further improve upon our robust systems we already have in place. I do want to make note that this consultation with the Department of Homeland Security came at no cost to the district's grant budget or operational budget. We recently held a professional development day to support our front office staff members as it relates to IT and registration. The purpose of this professional development day was to meet together with all members of our IT team to hear the latest happenings from the team, provide meaningful training opportunities, and to see how we can better serve our front office staff members. It was a very informative day with very meaningful learning that took place for everybody involved. We have been very busy processing many of our much needed software renewals. Our team is processing all of our software renewals as fast as we possibly can, while evaluating each purchase with our budget in mind. We would like to thank the business office for their hard work to process our purchase requisitions as fast as possible. And we would also like to thank our teachers and community members for all of their patience, understanding, and support during these difficult financial times. As of now, prior to the school committee adopting the budget, we have only put forward absolute critical renewals only. Now, hopefully, now that the budget has been approved, we can take a closer look at starting to process some other renewals that need to take place. The IT team has been very busy helping all of our students, teachers, and parents with all of their technological needs at the beginning of the year. Our team has been working very hard to troubleshoot issues, provide on-site support to all teachers and staff where it is needed. And we have currently processed over 500 IT support tickets since September 5th. So we have a very small team. Again, like all the other departments, we also are understaffed, and processing over 500 support tickets, not everyone is quite simple. There are some complicated ones. So I'd like to thank our IT team for all of their dedication and hard work, going above and beyond to keeping our district operations smooth. With that, I would also like to thank our superintendent, our interim superintendent, and our assistant superintendent for all of their cooperation and support during our most busiest time of year. That is my status report for this month. If the committee has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
When the copier contract is signed, what is the estimated time for those copiers to be in the schools and operational?
Yep, we won't know that for sure until we submit a signed contract. I've been told at last check, most of the styles of copiers that we are ordering are in stock and have about a 2 to 3 week time frame. What we have been doing in the meantime, though, just so you know, the IT team has been anticipating that this contract would be put forward. So we've already begun configuring all the technical end of the implementation so that we can move as quickly as possible.
Thank you.
This concludes the superintendent's report.
Okay, can I get a motion to receive?
Make a motion that the school committee receive the superintendent's reports.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I just want to mention a couple of things. under reports of officers and committees. So the town is having Family Day on Saturday, October 7th at the beach. Didn't realize that that's a holiday weekend, so
Stay. Yeah.
it's
They
unfortunate.
knew that when they planned it.
I know. So unfortunately, I may not be able to attend because I'm going to be away. I will be away on Saturday. But then they're also doing, the town is going to do a forum regarding the bond for the public on Monday, October 16th at 6 p.m. at Town Hall. Our next school committee meeting is Thursday, October 19th at 4:30. I would like to propose to all of you, if you're in agreement, that that would be our public forum to be able to provide information, allow for a public hearing for folks to get up and speak. Obviously, we'll do we always have a public forum, but I mean specifically related to any bond questions and information. I'd like to propose that we put that on the agenda because November 7th is right around the corner after that. I know that the information from the town, based on the email that we all saw, the flyers are being made by the PR company that the town has brought in to assist us in the putting out the facts and information for the bond. So I would like to add that to our, here we go, this beautiful brochure. It's lovely. I have not seen this yet. Also, the building committee, which meets every other Wednesday, has been working very diligently and very hard with this PR companies to make sure that the information is factual and put out there to the public correctly. This is not about when we have our meeting and when the town has theirs. We want to just be able to present facts. We want to be able to provide the citizens with information of the dollars and all those and what the school design would look like, things of that nature. So I want to add that to the 19th meeting, and I want to be able to get that advertised as quickly as possible if that is acceptable to everybody on the group. Well, we don't need to vote on it, obviously. It's just, this is just a discussion. We already have a meeting that day anyway, so just want to plan on that to be available for our citizens to come and speak.
Sure.
Okay. In other reports, the building committee, as I said, has been working very diligently on design. It was changed slightly this past week from a Z design to this new design, which,
This isn't the new one.
oh, this is not the new one.
This is the other, this is the Z.
This is, okay, so
It
it's,
changed a little bit, this.
it's been tweaked a little bit
Mhm.
and, but it's the difference with this Z design compared to what the new design is, that the new gym will be accessible directly from the first floor, and it will be closer to the field access, which will be great. It'll also be very well equipped for handicapped accessibility. And because our gym is a shelter at Gaudet, this gym will also be a fallout shelter for the entire state of Rhode Island, but most of all, and most importantly, Aquidneck Island will have, which they do now at Gaudet. It's a full access fallout shelter. This new facility would be designed specifically to make sure we accommodate the Red Cross would be able to get there, emergency wagons, things like that would be able to get right up to the access to this new gym, new facility. The other thing about this is that the auditorium would be designed, is designed in the new design for immediate access as well for the public, but not accessing the rest of the building. So it's a great design. This is going to be a really beautiful building that the community is going to be able to utilize when we vote, because we use our schools to vote. When we have an emergency, we have the fallout shelter, we have the auditorium, which could potentially bring in revenues when we rent it out to other organizations. So there's a lot of great things about this school and of course the dollars and cents will come out with this. We are looking at 52% reimbursement. 55% reimbursement on this bond. So we're not paying as Middletown residents. We will not be paying $190 million back. We will get 55% of that reimbursed. And also some of that money is going to go and work, fix up a program for, fix up our school setup for grades 4 and 5.
And last night, Poe and I and two other building committee members were at the high school open house. Tonight, there are members at Gaudet open houses tonight. So they're there, they're passing out just flyers with the information. I have some if any audience members would like them. And there are things, and then the schematic design is here. It is ever changing and evolving. And there's also a postcard with a little bit of information. But what's good about on the postcard, although the design has been updated, there's a QR code. You can go right on the QR code. It will take you to the website and you can get more information from the website. Also.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe the other elementary open houses are coming up
Yep.
as well. Is that
Yes.
next week? Next week, when is, I'm sorry? Wednesday and Thursday, which one's which?
Quidnick Wednesday, Thursday, Forest.
Okay, Aquinic is Wednesday and Forest is Thursday. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Anybody else have anything? All right. No. On that note,
Make,
Mrs. Holden,
make a motion to adjourn from the school committee meeting at 5:47.
Second.
any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.